Hey everyone, it's Nathas. I'm here with CardboardNewt and Mundungu, and today we're going to be doing a stream to talk about my spoiler card for the last winter from SolForge Fusion. So first, if you guys want to say hi, I got both CardboardNewt and Mundungu here with me.
Hello?
Am I supposed to say hi? What's happening?
Yeah. So I thought it would be
Perfect.
I thought it would be fitting to have the two of you guys on here because we spent so much time playing and prepping for Gen Con, and like it's just I think we became all pretty good buddies as part of this. Although I know the two of you live near each other anyway, so I'm kind of the
Yeah.
third wheel. But I was just like I feel like if I had to do this with anybody, I feel like it would be a lot of fun to have you guys on here to do my spoiler.
Billy Bad Aim's over here trying to judge us now.
Ooh.
Yeah.
No, for sure. So what we decided to do today is first we're going to talk through some of the spoilers that have come out so far for the last winter. Kind of talk a little bit about what we think about them, both from a flavor standpoint, from a competitive standpoint, and then after we go through that, we each kind of like so both Sam and Matt know the spoiler that I have. So I showed it to them right before the stream. They both have either come up with a half deck or some ideas of what they think would pair very well with the card. And then I'm going to kind of have them share what they think. I have my own notes that I'm going to share as well, and then I will reveal the spoiler at the end of the stream. So I guess what we'll start to do is we're going to go over the spoilers that have been updated so far. So let me get that on the screen right now. So the first card I have here is Advancing Archivist. So this is a card which is one of the ones that actually struck me as really interesting, especially because I'm not exactly sure which ability is the Advancing and which ability is the Archivist. But basically being able to deploy, upgrade a card in your hand and discard it, and then when a creature replaces this, you may upgrade a card in your hand and discard it. I think that's just a really, really cool ability. The fact that you have that not only on a deploy, but also as an ability like kind of like your Gizmo, your Gizmo, anything like that. So I guess I want to know what you guys both feel about this card and kind of this general idea of all the upgrading that we're seeing so far in the set so far. So I don't know if Sam, you want to start?
The awkward pause. Let's go.
Oh yeah,
Um, so I kind of took a look at some of the other forged cards I have, and typically the forged ability, so like the advancing, is going to be at the bottom.
yes,
Um, so my guess is that's going to be it. This card, it came with another spoiler, which was definitely better than it. But I looked at it and it's like, it follows the typical Aloy and stuff. It doesn't really give much in terms of free plays. It generates value, but doesn't really do too much in delaying. So it's okay. It exists.
no, for sure. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they're clearly pushing upgrading here. I think some of the past sets have also done that, but there's really gonna need to be a good payoff in blue, I think.
Yeah,
Like like a Crovius or near Crovius level payoff at that third cycle to be doing all
Yes.
this upgrading.
Especially
Otherwise,
being a 3/3 in cycle 1 too.
mm,
yeah. Like otherwise you're kind of locked into trying to play the typical blue green Crovius deck, but
for sure.
hopefully, if there's a good payoff in blue in this set, then you can pair it with some other colors and get some other archetypes going.
Yeah, but I guess even if the payoff's not in blue, if the payoff is in one of the other colors in like contained in set three, like I know we've
Yeah,
seen some really cool green cards, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Um, I think that just the fact that if blue is just a turbo upgrade, like Forge or Faction, that potentially just has the ability to really push you forward. So I know for me, like drones, anything that upgrades cards or plays cards for free, like just as an extra ability, is something that's really exciting for me because it gains just so much advantage towards the end of the game. I'm excited to see what kind of cards will get advancing, and I think it's going to be something that will just really help you push your strategy forward. So, if I have like an advancing necromancer, for example, like if your necromancer is about to die or you want to get that extra upgrade at the end of the cycle, just replace it. Like I think there will be some really cool random synergies that might be very helpful for it.
it
So
seems like a lot of these blue upgrade creatures are also metamind scientists too.
that's a
So
good point
hopefully, at least one of those matters in set three.
for sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to the next one that's been revealed so far. So they're not necessarily in order; they're actually in ABC order. So I guess we're going to go through a couple of these just to kind of, like I said, recap what's been out there so far. So the next card is Crypt Haunter, which I know was Casey Kidd in Forge Warden Finishing School's spoiler. And this is a card that I find really interesting because the level 1 is basically when it's destroyed, the enemy player destroys one of their creatures with decreased health. The same thing at level 2, and at level 3, when you deploy it, you reanimate your level 1 and your level 2s. So for this card, like it's something that I find really interesting because the enemy player gets to pick their creature. It's not like, so initially when I saw it, I'm like, this is Death Touch on a card on a stick, and the fact that it's like you might be able to block with this and they'll destroy their Wisp that's a 2/1 or something like that. Like you're not always gonna get the most value out of it, but you're always gonna be able to get some value out of it as long as they have a creature on the board. Or almost always, because you never know if they have a pumped up creature. But I was wondering what you guys thought about this card specifically, because this was I think the first community spoiler after Gen Con. So this was, I think, like just a really exciting moment for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? Oh,
Go ahead.
okay. It reminds me a lot of Pyre Song.
It
Just for the
does.
creature. And like, how many times have I cast Pyre Song in my life? Is like I can count on 2 hands. So
That is true. Although Pyre Song, you get to pick the creature. In this
yeah,
situation, the enemy gets to pick. So it does have that little bit of downside, but you almost can be like, hey, I'll Dreadbolt your other creature that's not have any damage, and then Crypt Haunter will ideally do its job to kill as long as you have like one other creature on their side of the board.
well, they have to have decreased health too.
That's true. That's a good point. But I do think it's going to be something that's going to be really fun to play with, because imagine stitchering back your level 3 Crypt Haunter. So you just keep keep doing it, all the reanimations. That'll be a lot of fun. All
Yeah, it
right.
seems like a pretty fun card. I misread it like 5 times, but I believe when it dies, you basically neck revive them.
Oh yeah,
That's what happens.
yeah.
So,
That's a good point.
for decreased health anyway.
Yeah,
So they do have some choice. Like if they block a Wisp with a zombie token, then they can lose that instead of whatever you're trying to target. But
hmm
it makes some interesting. It'll probably make some interesting board states for sure.
yeah. And this is a card I don't think I'm gonna play it in my like competitive builds, but I think I'm gonna build around this to have fun, because this is the kind of thing that I want to make work, and I want to just destroy as many things as I possibly can with it. All right, so let's go to the next one. So Drone Hive. So this was the charge plated spoiler. So this one has your creatures in this lane have Slay. You may play a Gizmo minion. The level 2 says destroy your level 1 to play a Gizmo. The creature has Slay, play a Gizmo minion. And then the level 3 has destroy your level 1 or 2 to play a Gizmo. And then you may, when it slays, you play a Mega Gizmo. So this is a card that I know, like, I think, Sam, you messaged me almost immediately. And sorry, I should be calling you Newt because your name isn't Sam anymore. But you messaged me immediately and you were like, oh, I want a little more out of this card. And the more I think about it, I think I do too, just for the sake of competitive play. Because, like, I at least want the level 3 to make a Mega as you play it. That being said, slaying to make gizmos can be really strong. Like, especially because it's something that, like, you just put your powerful creatures, like, if you put your Crypt Haunter in that row and then you destroy something, like, you're going to get a gizmo. So it's like there's some really cool synergies you could have with it, but it's like I feel like you could have a little bit more value at the level 3, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
I think that specific situation wouldn't work unless the 1 damage kills something,
Oh, that's true,
because
actually, because
it's
it's
no longer
dead.
on the board and
You're
it no
right.
longer has the stay ability.
You're right. That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah, much like Crypt Hunter, it feels like a build around card that's probably not going to be like super competitive, but it'll be fun to play.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
another thing I agree. Like, imagine having this with a laboratory or like a Mad Winter. Like, this Betrayer in that kind of deck would be so
Oh
good.
yeah,
Because I assume
I
that
would
we're not going
100% this with my Mad Lab. Yeah,
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So I think this is a really cool design. And again, like when I'm saying this, like, oh, like I want a little more out of this card. I think it's a really cool design because, like, imagine having a creature that's got double slay because of this. So it's like you have your Bride of
Yeah.
Frankenbaum to play a free spell, and you get a gizmo. Like, that could be really sweet. Like, you could get a lot of value if you have the right creatures in the right place.
I don't think it's much of a normal mid-range type of card, but it's definitely shenanigans.
Yes, and I
Like
love
potential.
shenanigans.
So it could potentially make some pretty powerful synergies, but I don't think it's going to be like this is a good card on its own type of thing.
I understand that. So this card is the one I think that caused a lot of commotion yesterday. So Enduring Ties. So this is a card that it's funny because I was actually out at my local store teaching a few people how to play when this came out, and I could not follow the conversation that was going on, and it was just a really, really like. It took me a second to realize what was going on with this card, but Enduring Ties plays a Rooted Leafkin. At level 2, either you play a Rooted Leafkin and give it +1/+1, or you set Rooted Leafkin's power to 5 and its toughness to 3. The level 3 says play Ingrained Leafkin, or you transform your Rooted Leafkin. So now it's a Soulbind, so this is the important part. So Rooted Leafkin is a 4/2. This can't gain health except from Enduring Ties. If this would lose any amount of health, instead it loses 1. And then the Ingrained Leafkin is an 8/4. This can't gain health. If this would lose any amount of health, instead this loses 1 health. So this is the Krogius killer, is what I think a lot of people are calling it, because the way that it works is that because if it would lose any amount of health, instead this loses 1, it's a replacement effect. So it's not actually going to break through any damage. So really, like if you give it -1/-1, if you do any damage to it, it's just going to lose 1 health. So you basically will have a situation where you could drop an Ingrained Leafkin in front of Krogius, and if they can't kill it with like a Dreadbolt, you're going to have to deal 4 individual damages either through combat or through other cards and completely block their breakthrough. So it basically just makes that Krogius useless, which I think is really interesting. And I think it's something that's kind of needed because, like, in general, this can kind of like stop just that Turbo Krogius out. But at the same time, it's like it's a little hard to set up because you need to be able to play that Soulbind and predict the correct row, or so I think you almost need to play this with like a collar or something else that will move it from lane to lane to guarantee that it could potentially block the Krogius. But I think this is one of the cooler cards so far. So I know. What do you guys feel? Is this something you guys have seen yet? Because this was a spoiler from yesterday.
I actually haven't seen this yet, but yeah, like you said, it's you don't really have a lot of time to find this when Krogius is on the board. So ideally, you would be able to move it if you're trying to do exactly that. But it still seems really good in general. Like an 8/4, that's pretty much invincible. So, again,
it dies to Dreadbolt
stock
or
goes up even
Botanimate.
further.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Or that
But I
Death
guess
Touch
it does
on
have to be a
Cersei.
level 3 Dreadbolt if it's flipped. So
that is true.
it doesn't necessarily die to Dreadbolt or Botanimate because they have to have 3 levels.
Yeah, but you
Or
could, I
2.
guess, Dendrify. You could do anything that removes your Rumble Spark will also remove the Ingrained Leafkin, or most things that do. Because obviously you can't do it with damage. But I do like the idea of being able to Leyline Vermin this. So imagine you play the Krogius, they play this, and then you play like Vermin. So that's like, all right, now it is going to break through.
My first thought was Leyline Vermin and then pump its health.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that.
More invincibility, yeah.
So I think this card will potentially see some competitive play because it can kind of slow down your Rumble Spark decks. Because if you throw this in front of a Rumble Spark, you basically have, like, on the level 2, let me go back to, or sorry, the level 1, you've got at least 2 turns to block it. Now, if it dies, you obviously get to reanimate it, or not reanimate, but you get to play it again with your Enduring Ties. So either you set the power to 5/3, so you have 3 more turns, or you play it again and give it +1/+1. So it's like every time you either, like the way it's worded, it lets you, if it's alive, buff it up, or if it's dead, you bring it back. So I think this card's going to be really strong, and it's one that you don't really have to even upgrade through the game. It's a good underdrop because at the end of the day, you get a body that's going to trump anything. Like I saw this and I'm like, man, this kind of destroys Corrupt Drone because you drop it there, and now it's like I'm never going to hit you again unless I just can deal with this Leafkin because it's just going to sit there and block. So,
and it's a spirit, so it gets you the health on Forge Seal and has a bunch of random synergies.
Oh, that's really a great point.
It's also a creature that counts as a spell. Those are always great.
Yeah, and it's a plant too. So it's like all that plant synergy in set 2, if it becomes even more relevant, or there's some really good set 2 pairings, or some of those cards are reprinted, like this card could be just a really big build around to negate the current meta.
Yeah, it seems really good.
Yeah. All right, so we'll go to the next one. So this is the card I think that's excited me. Top 3. I know the one we just said is top 3 so far. This is also one of my top 3. This is a drone level excitement, I think, for me, because Cultivating Guardian, it upgrades a creature in your hand, then discard it. Upgrade a creature in your hand, then discard it, and then you could upgrade a creature in your hand. The first time you upgrade a creature each turn, you may play it for free. So this is really exciting for me because it's like the turn you play it, it's just like, all right, I'll drop the level 3, get a free creature that I've upgraded. It feels just like that level 3 drone, except obviously you can't do a spell. But now if you throw it out with a Necromancer or something, every turn you're just repeatedly upgrading a creature and playing it for free. So it's like there's just a lot of really cool synergies I think around this card that will just win you games and pull you out of just like a really not an ideal situation. So I don't know. What do you guys think about this?
Well, I mean, this looks kind of familiar, but yeah, green doesn't really get upgrading. So, like, I know it's only creatures, but typically the thing you want to upgrade in green, anyways, are creatures. And like, it really seems like Krogius is going to be in the set. Just put it that way.
It's gotta be.
Because if it's not, these upgrade cards are going to be pretty sad.
Or the Betrayer
And
Krogius is going to be really valuable.
yeah,
The 1 of 10.
and it's another. That's the second plant in a row too. So it seems like that might matter in the set.
Yeah, and I enjoy that the plants tend to have also very relevant subtypes. So it's like this one's a plant mage, the other one was a plant spirit. So it's like they're all things
Yeah.
that like have relevance with other cards that have been printed. I think like this is a card that I saw this and I was just like, can set 3 be out like next week? Because I want to play with this card. Like part of me wants to find a way to like bring it into TTS just to like mess with it because that it does feel like a drone that doesn't care about hitting and it like it's obviously downgraded, but like because it doesn't do it every turn, every time it hits, but just that guaranteed upgrade, like it feels like this would be really good with like an Aetherforge Oracle. Like I could see pairing this with like a potentially even like a set 1 blue, depending on like the deck that it's got.
Yeah, I could see this as like a must-have in turbo upgrade as long as like blue green and set 3 has a lot of really good finishers. Krogius is going to be a big one, and then if we have like 1 in blue or maybe like 2 in green, like it's going to be an insane card.
Yeah.
Absolutely abusable.
But like the more I think about it, like I think you're right, Matt. Like there's got to be a Krogius in the set because they wouldn't have all these cards that like kind of counter it a little bit. Like if they make the Krogius killer the counter to Krogius, and then they don't have Krogius in the set, like that would be pretty hilarious.
Well, there could be other payoffs, like new ones too,
That's
but
true.
it's hard to imagine something better than Krogius, especially in green.
I agree. Until we see something better. You never know. There'll be like a 40-40 breakthrough aggressive that can't be affected by any ability. All right, so this is a card, like I said, I'm really excited about this one. So let's go to the next
Yeah.
one. So Wind Weaver is here. So this one is one of the other first spoilers that came out. I think this was the second. So I guess the other first is the second, where you can activate, choose another level 1 creature, ready or exhaust this creature. You can only use this ability once per turn, and then it's level gated basically. So you could do level 1 at the first level, 1 or 2 at the second level, or any creature at the third level. I think this is a card where it makes sense that you can only do it once per turn. I think when I was talking to Fletch about this, and I was like, it's probably because this could be really powerful with readying, and he was like, oh, because of the app or the client. If someone just had 2 creatures that could ready each other back and forth, it can kind of break the app. So I think this is one of those app designs. That being said, just being able to completely exhaust your opponent's side of the board by like activate, lead the charge, activate. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of like prepared creatures that could do something like where you could just exhaust your whole side of the board and then use like what is it? It's not spiky. It's one of the abilities that lets you destroy an exhausted creature. It's
Noxious.
noxious. There we go. It's like there's a lot of really good ways to be able to take advantage of this, either for your benefit in terms of readying one of your creatures or slowing your opponent down from using their Necromancer or their Blight Witch or anything like that. So this is a card that excites me a lot, and it feels like it's also we don't get a ton of. Well, I guess we do get some readying because this is like an Everflame aura, or like there's not a ton in red, I would say, and this is something that would be just exciting for all those mages that you might be able to play with in that purple pairing that you probably are going to play. So, what do you guys think on this one?
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of reusable readying, anyways.
That's true.
So that's pretty rare. And this thing is randomly has like stout built in.
You're right.
It's like huge for some reason. I don't know why it's so beefy, but it's really weird for a mage.
This is a
Seems
card.
pretty good.
Ooh,
Darkheart's a 2/8, so similar stat line
Yeah.
to Mark Hack.
Yeah, you know how hard that is to get off the board. So.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna. I think it'll see some play in certain archetypes. I think it's like sneakily good, even though the restriction of the once per turn. There's a lot of activate effects that could be like absolutely abusable, being able to activate them once or twice.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of more abusable cards probably in this upcoming set too, because it seems like there's a lot of things like I wish it said that you could ready like an exalt as well with this, because we've seen a couple exalts that could activate. That being said, it's still really strong on a creature. This is a card that I really want to make work in terms of competitive play. I want to play this with a Forge Seal Mantis, and like if I could get this with like a Sunder that's got play a free spell, and then I know there's not going to be any what's it called, Gather the Storm or Gathering Storm to be able to deal damage every time you play spells. Like we're not going to get that Sunder in this set, I assume. But if I was able to get this card in a Forge Seal Mantis deck where I could continuously activate Forge Seal Mantis to play spells, like this is my dream.
Exactly.
I mean,
It's really good
Nova
effect.
can turn your creatures into wisps, can't they? Can't she?
Yeah,
And that'd be fun.
that's
Just
true.
turn your opponent's creatures into wisps the
Transform
entire time.
them.
Oh, and that's actually a good point. More Than Most just posted the Exalted Sunder has an even stronger Gathering Storm. So that's a good.
Oh
I'm
yeah, yeah,
speaking of
like
the
the
Exalteds.
Shadowcast or whatever. The
Yeah,
Oros
Yeah, that
also
with
has the
Mantis is
turn
really
thing
good.
into wisp as well.
so I'm gonna push that in a second because those are in this list as well that we're gonna talk about. I am so interested to see how the ruling is gonna be for Forge Seal Mantis on those Exalted Forgeborn, because you know that's the first thing I'm gonna do. All right, so let's go to the next card. So Metamind Warden, this is also one of my top 3 cards in the set. And Ankh Gaming and Weekend spoiled this one. Was it yesterday or was it 2 days ago? The
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 2 days ago it was on Tuesday.
So this is like one of the first like payoffs we see for the upgrade deck. And this one's got give a creature -2 when you activate it, and then when you upgrade this card, ready it, or when you upgrade a card, ready this. And then the level 2 is activate a card to give it activate this to give it -3 attack, and then you upgrade a card to ready this, and then same thing with -5 attack. So if you're like upgrading like 2 to 3 cards a turn and just reactivating and giving your opponent's board like -10, -15 attack total, just from the sake of activating this 2 to 3 times. Like, I think this card is just going to destroy aggro. Like, imagine just hitting this Metamind Warden over and over again on Rumblespark, just so it's like every time it gets big, it's like, oh, now it's like nothing. Or you can use this and then what's it called, Sonic Burst to destroy their entire board. I hope Sonic Burst is in the set because I want
Yeah.
Sonic Burst with Metamind Warden so bad. If anyone has a Betrayer or Sonic Burst, you know where to find me, because that's my dream. So, what do you guys think of that about this one?
Well, my thoughts are, yeah, I was going to mention the whole suppressing synergy, but we haven't seen anything like that in this set yet. But yeah, this is the type of thing you want in a Krogius deck. You just want to like stall the game out as much as possible. And this thing's really good at doing that for the most part, but it is a little small. Like it's pretty vulnerable to a lot of removal spells at 4, and scales about the same as a removal spell.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily it's not like a 3 health creature. 4 is a big difference, but
Yeah.
still dies to a lot of the removal spells in the field. But you can still at least get a little value out of it immediately.
Hold on. It looks
I
like
see it as
my.
a delaying card, really. So, um, yeah, it just goes to show that blue just needs it's looking for a finisher in this set. That's really what all the cards are pointing to. You
Yeah.
got a bunch
Yeah.
of upgrades, you got minus attack, like it's a really good control setup. You just need that finisher to really just punch in the face and win the game.
But even if I were to play this like an Aloyan deck with some of these upgrade cards we're seeing so far, with a set 1 or set 2 Utera deck, where I'm able just to upgrade everything with my Aloyan half, and then like use some of these really good utility cards, and then just drop out that Krogius, and I don't need necessarily a Necromancer because every card in my deck seems in set 3 to really want to upgrade. At least what we've seen so far. I think it's like if you get that deck that's got your Metamind Wardens and some of your other upgrade cards in Aloyan, like you're potentially just gonna like turbo out a Krogius without even having to worry about using that Steel Rosetta that you want to use. Like you might be able to actually play Crux Cobalt and like really enjoy it because of the fact that like you don't have to worry about upgrading in your Forgeborn anymore.
That's true.
But this is a thing where I'm going to pair this with purple for sure, just to be able to use my Necromancer and things like that. Like, I'm going to playtest this card with my Corrupt Drone half from Worlds, because the amount of upgrade there,
Yeah.
I just feel like it would be a lot of fun. And it's just,
I just checked my green decks. I do have a Betrayer Necromancer, but no Krogius in that deck.
well, you're a loser.
I know.
All right, so I think we're getting kind of close to being caught up. So here's Eli's spoiler, Mount of Heroes. So this is one I know me and Sam talked about a bunch, and I also really enjoy. Ooh, hold on, my stream keeps losing the photo, so I'll have to bring that back.
Goodbye forever, photo. Or the most mentioned a triple charge play deck with it. With like the heavy upgrade synergy between both Utera and the Aloy and stuff. That'd be interesting.
That would be so interesting.
Yeah.
I would love that. I'll steal that idea because your name's also Sam. So the next one is Mount of Heroes. So it's activate, deal 2 damage to your creature in this lane. If you do, give it 4 attack. The level 2 basically destroys your level 1. Deal 2 damage to your creature in this lane. If you do, give it and each adjacent creature plus 4 attack. And the level 3 deals 2 damage to your creature in this lane if you do give each of your creatures 4 attack. This is basically your Furious Shardback on a stick, and this is the first Exalt we saw that actually has an activate ability. And I think that's really cool because Exalts tend to stay on the board a lot better than your creatures that have some of these really strong activate abilities. So this card just being able to hit the board, potentially buff a lot of your creatures if you have your Thundersaur out there, or if you have another Shardback or anything like that. It can potentially push a lot of damage in an aggressive deck. So I guess I know this is something that we've had some opinions on this card. I don't know if you want to start, Sam, because I know me and you spoke about this one a bunch.
Sure, I guess. Yeah, I mean, the big problem I have with it is a lot of the Tempest cards tend to be very squishy in the health side, but high attack. So dealing 2 damage always is kind of sketchy unless it's like what the Shardback. But supposedly Shardback is going to be in the set, so it might be interesting just to be able to do that and then buff your whole board. Aggro is typically looking at buffing at like level 2 and such, so being able to get that level 2 hit potentially 3 creatures might be something of interest.
So actually, before continuing, more than most, so Eli mentioned, it's actually a really good point, some of the Soulbind Transform Exalts did have Activate, so I was wrong about that. And then Fletch mentioned that we do have a Nyx Necrio with Exalt removal that was showed last week, which I do have that queued up here, but he did say it's not the only card with it, though. So it looks like we will at least be seeing some more Exalt removal.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Most also mentioned Thundersaur with Mount of Heroes.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I will say... Oh, sorry, you go.
So yeah, I was just gonna quick mention my thoughts, but it feels like you would not want to play this card most of the time unless you have specific cards like a Thundersaur or Shardback or even that invincible plant thing. Pretty good with that.
Ooh.
You can just, especially if you have a way to buff its health, like even with that mystical Tangle Sprout thing, that could be really strong with that plant creature. But
you'd have to Leyline Vermin your own plant first because it says that you can't gain health except through its own card.
Can't. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Never mind.
It would be too strong that way. I will say the art of that statue at the top of the mountain too. Like I've never noticed it almost gives me like a Mr. T vibe holding a giant sword, and I love it. Like that beard with the mohawk. Like this is one of my new favorite
basically
arts.
A giant T. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a fun card.
Silence only affects target opponent creatures. Boo.
Oh.
How am I supposed to Leyline my own creatures?
No.
It's almost like that Nick and the rest of the team designed it well, so we can't pull these shenanigans.
The dream is ruined.
This is just a vermin, right?
Yeah. I think we just need to pack it up here and say we're done. No, I'm just kidding. So speaking of that Nyx, here is the Nyx that Fletch was mentioning, where it's got 3 new abilities, which means there's going to be new abilities on all of the Forgeborn that we see, and probably all of them will get at least 3 new abilities, which is really cool. So Dead Winter, you may give a creature -3/-3. If you have one or more spirits in your banished pile, you may give another creature -3/-3. Nyx's Rebellion, choose a lane, destroy all level 1 and level 2 cards in the chosen lane, which can be exalts or creatures. And then Loyal Beyond Death, give one of your creatures 9 attack. The next time it is destroyed this turn, reanimate it. So I don't know if you guys want to unpack this one first. Oop, hold on. The card has disappeared. I don't know why
Oh yeah.
Twitch does not like my photos. So let me...
Well, to me, this seems like the best Nyx has ever been. It's got a
There
lot
we
of
go.
like it kind of looks like a, I don't know, like a mini Cersei or something with all this removal stuff. I don't know if these are also going to have old abilities mixed in with these new ones, but yeah, obviously Nyx's Rebellion is a huge deal. You really wanted it specifically that slot to remove Rumble Spark embodiment potentially, I guess. Although cycle 3 is pretty late for that, so you'd probably have to Mantis it out or something.
That is true.
But I guess you wouldn't really want to play this over set 1 Cersei in Mantis deck anyway. But still, like a lot of these abilities look good. Like Dead Winter is just amazing. It shouldn't be too hard to get a spirit in your banish pile by then.
And especially playing green purple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I really enjoy just like Loyal Beyond Death, the fact that the name is Loyal Beyond Death. Like that's just one of the things where flavor is insane there, because you're looking at your Nyx, which is kind of got the zombie arms coming out of the dirt, and it's like give one of your creatures +9. The next time it's destroyed this turn, reanimate it. It's like they're just reaching up out of the ground to come be back to her because they're still loyal to Nyx. And I think it's just like some of these like the flavor here is just so cool. Although Dead Winter, like we're supposed to be the last winter, so I don't know why we're still talking about the winter here.
Yeah, flavor fail.
Ooh, and Fletch did mention you'll be guaranteed to get a spirit in that deck as well. So it's like you're guaranteed at least one spirit when you get Dead Winter in your deck or as your Forgeborn ability from Nyx.
There'll be the spirit that dies when it's in an opposing lane.
Imagine it's like they somehow make something that just makes a wisp or something that like doesn't make it to your banish pile. Is the one spirit, and you'll just be like, "Oh, I'm so sad."
And
All right.
actually, if I am comparing this to a set 1 Cersei outside of Army Commander, this Dead Winter and Nyx's Rebellion are basically the same. Like they're actually a little bit better than the abilities on Cersei if you compare it to Life Drain and Death Touch.
Yeah.
They can be stronger, I guess, depending if you need the life gain or not.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's like, granted, it hurts you a little bit, but at the same time, it's like you just have to be strategic about which lane you pick.
Yeah.
Well, Vanby did mention winter is dead, so it is the last, and then more than most mentioned, every winter in Necrom is a dead winter. So, like, I do think that's both of those are kind of good flavor there. But Fletch mentioned that Lucas thought it was a shot at him because his last name is Lewinter. Dead Lewinter. We'll have to like write in with Sharpie Lewinter for every dead winter that we get.
We'll
It's just
Photoshop Mad the Winter onto the face of Nyx as well.
Oh, that's perfect.
it's part
onto
of
one
the
his
errata.
buttons. Yeah.
Errata was part of the story.
All right, so the next card that we have here, which this is a very interesting card in terms of design, is Deep Branch Prowler. Oh man, we keep losing my Photos app. So let's just keep switching back. All right, we should be live again. So this is a card that has Exalted, which is a new ability where at the start of combat, you may have this strike your opposing creature. If you do, it doesn't deal combat damage this turn. So the thing that's important here is Exalted is if there's an Exalt in that lane, this will trigger. So it's important to have a card like this that shows like, hey, with all the exalts that we're getting in the actual set, we're having some payoffs for having exalts that stick on the board. Because sometimes if you're playing like decks that have like Sentinel or things that care about spells in your banish pile, we finally have a reason to want to keep these exalts on the field, even if they're not necessarily giving you static abilities at all times. So I think this is a really interesting card. So what do you both think about this one?
Well, my initial, yeah, I made a few posts in Discord about this one, but my initial thoughts are I love Exalted as an ability. Like that's really good thing to have in the set, in the game in general. And the card itself kind of just seems to me like a bad aggressive creature. Like it's good at sniping some of the weaker defender cards, but you'd really just rather have like like a Phoenix or something like that, like a 6/4 aggressive card to do that. That's a little bit less fragile, but this can have some like it can get better than just baseline 6/1 8/1 and so forth, as we'll probably see later. But otherwise, I do think the card seems a little bit weak overall. Although a green doesn't get aggressive, so this might be their version of aggressive.
Green does get aggressive with Brashful.
Oh, Brashful.
Yeah, Brashful's aggressive.
Yeah.
That is a good point, actually. I missed that. But you do have that double Brashful deck, so you would know for sure.
Yeah, it's not like I played the crap out of that deck.
Yeah, but I do agree with you. Oh, sorry, you go first, Sam.
Yeah, shut up.
Yeah.
No. So my first thought is like, it's kind of like build your own removal because you can have. There's a lot of exalts with the slave ability on them. So I'm curious about how that works, especially the strike. I could also see it as using it to like whittle down your opponent's creatures and such. But kind of agreeing with Mundungu here that it's like, like it exists, it's cool. It might be something fun for casual, but competitive, it probably won't see much play.
I agree. Like you'll have that fringe case where it will kill like a shambler before combat, and you'll feel really good about it. But at the same time, it's like now you have to think about playing some of your like powerful creatures in lanes where there aren't exalts. So that way you could kind of work around some of these exalted abilities. But I agree with you. This is something that, like, especially because it sticks at 1 toughness the entire time that you play it, it's really susceptible to, like, they play a Fire Fist Uranti and ping it, or like an Ice Lance Mangus, and you're gonna feel bad every time. Like, oh man, I wish I had something with a little more toughness.
Yeah.
But I really like the ability, and I think this opens up a really cool design space that will really make the game a little bit more complex.
One more thing about the card is if you are trying to actually block it, it's pretty difficult to actually get off the table by blocking because it'll kill your creature and you won't deal damage and they'll still be their next turn. So you kind of have to remove it through other means other than just blocking if it's in an exalted lane.
That's a really good point.
It'll be exalt, devouring,
or if you have like a 1/7, I guess. But yeah,
great packed it.
But maybe that's why it's like kind of the Prowler, because it's just a lot harder to deal with than you think. Like maybe that's like something that we'll see the more we play a card like this, is just like it ends up just sticking on the board a lot longer than you'd like because you just can't chump block it, or you do, and it's just like it never dies, but you just have to keep dealing with it. But you don't want to waste your Dreadbolt here, but you also don't want to take 13 damage. So it's interesting. I'm excited to see how this card plays out, but I don't think this will be at the top tables in major events. Let's see if the stream dies again. Looks like it hasn't yet. So, Sacrifice Chamber. This is another really cool one because this is another card that introduces Slay to one of your creatures, and it did go away. It's the photo. I don't know what it is about this Twitch today. Let's go. All right, we're back. So Sacrifice Chamber, your creatures in this lane has Slay, deal 3 damage to an enemy player to gain 3 life. You may destroy your level 1 card when you play the level 2 to give a creature 3 attack. The creature in this lane has Slay, deal 5 damage to the enemy player and gain 5 life. And then if you play the level 3, you destroy any other Sacrifice Chambers that are on the field. You may give a creature 5 attack, and then when it slays, it deals 7, gain 7. So this is interesting because anything that kind of just gains you life in combat can be really strong. Being able to buff some of your creatures just by playing it, and it's like not a huge buff, but it's enough where it might like tip the point of you being able to actually slay something that turn. And then being able to sneak in like off forge an extra like 5 damage and 5 life, like that 10-point life swing can be pretty huge. I think this is a really interesting card, and being able to like again put this on another creature with Slay that has a similar ability, like set 2 purple has a lot of things where they slay and you kind of have similar deal damage, gain life. It could be a really strong card in the right deck. What do you guys think?
And Sam?
More than most mentioned playing Tinker in this lane. Yeah, I I'm curious about how much errant damage or destruction we're going to see in terms of destroying your opponent's creatures on a stick. I think that's what this card is asking for a lot. I mean, Shardback is going to be a good option, as people have pointed out. Uterra Charger, another option. We haven't really seen any big like purple creatures on stick with removal that's on like an activate or something. I guess no, wait, we do have that new suppressing one in purple, don't we?
Oh yeah, that's true.
So it might be good in decks with a lot of that kind of activate removal.
I would also love this on like a Vid Icarus, if you could like wipe their whole board with a level 2 or 3 Vid Icarus and just like slay. I think that's might be my new dream, and I might be brewing that when this set comes out.
And you can hit your own creatures with Vid Icarus, I'm pretty sure, can't you?
Well, slay
No,
slay
because
an
Slay
enemy creature.
already, yeah.
Oh, Slay is only enemy. Yeah, never mind.
Oh, I wish it was your creatures too. So that would be so
And
much
Dumbo
fun.
Fiend combo right there.
Oh, that would be insane. But this is another card that I think will be fun to brew around. It's not something that I think is going to make a huge impact unless it's in the right deck. Like, this is the kind of support card that you might be like, you know what, I'm okay with this in my deck, but it's not one that you're gonna like necessarily go after to build your competitive build, in my opinion. But it's cool that it's a common, because this feels like it could have been called a rare based on the like pseudo shamble.
Put this in a Krogius lane.
Ooh, that's a good point.
In case the Croagus isn't good enough. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like the red one. I don't think I would want to play this most of the time, but there are certain cards that can make it pretty strong.
Fletcher is telling us to stop.
Oh, yeah, we don't want to have our
Not
extra
trying to
slay.
break the game with your extra slay dreams.
One day, you're going to let us slay our own creatures. All right, so I know we're getting... Now we're at the Exalted Oros, and the Exalted Sunder should be right after this. So there's technically not a 2 under this, like, the level 2 ability. So again, I don't know if this is considered to be a level 2 Forgeborn ability or not. Technically, in terms of using a Forge Sealer Mantis. But granted, it says when this is transformed, you do that ability, so I assume we're not going to be able to Forge Sealer Mantis on the Blade of Solace side. But being able to basically play your Mantis as a dead card to be able to use your upgrade to be able to use these level 3 or 4 abilities could be really strong. So Blade of Solace is when this is transformed, which means we're getting Forgeborns that transform in some way. You may give a creature 3 attack, you may give an enemy creature -3 health. Darkwood Armor has give up to 2 of your creatures 8 armor this turn. This turn, when either of those creatures is dealt damage, it gets that much attack. So it's literally like Thundersower almost on an ability. Then Unnatural Disaster, give a creature 10 attack. This turn it gets Breakthrough, set its opposing creature's health to 1. Imagine doing this on a Krogius, am I right? That being said, so there's a couple really interesting things about these cards, and I think there's a lot of theories about what Exalted will do exactly. But the fact that it's got the word Exalted, which is the same keyword as Exalted on like the creatures that mean there's an Exalt in that lane. Like, I wonder at what, like, the more stuff that gets revealed for this set, like, we're gonna get more hints about exactly how these transform and exactly what they do. But these level 3 and 4 abilities on both Exalted Forgeborn that we see so far are pretty insane to me, and I also really enjoy the art too. So I'll let you guys give your 2 cents on this one.
This one's going to be a little bit sad since you can't really pair it with a Mantis anyway. Most like, well, not easily.
This one,
but,
yeah.
Unnatural Disaster deals with that annoying plant guy, so that could like make your Krogius go through the plant anyways.
Well, does the setting the creature's health to 1 count as a decrease in health or no?
Oh, that's a good question.
Fletch, what's the answer?
Yeah, rules question.
Because he did say -2 is considered to be just 1 drop down, so I would assume.
Yeah, because that's a loss of life.
But
I don't know about the setting.
But it says it can't gain life, but the other, like the actual card that plays it, does set its power and health. I wonder, this might be the one card. This is like the...
Well, it makes it specifically mentions like the card that plays it as an exception to the rule.
That's true.
So
that's a good point.
Seems like a humility situation.
Eli says it's just still probably minus by 1. Way to kill our dreams once again. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. But that being said, so Eli did mention level mantis won't work. He's like, I wish I could upgrade a creature, which is a good point because there's going to be so much upgrade in this set likely. Where if
Well, the
you're
green is going to have a lot of upgrade
yeah,
creatures.
so that's
So
where the
yeah.
Betrayer Mantis is important, or the Betrayer Forge Seal, or whatever you want to play. But it's just, I don't know, Unnatural Disaster. I can't wait to see what a level 3 Unnatural Disaster is, because even if it's like
Right.
give 5 attack, give it breakthrough, set its opposing creatures health to 1, like
That'd be even better.
yeah. So
oh yeah.
I would be willing to give up a Forgeborn ability for that for sure. Like sometimes when
Yeah.
I'm playing, especially like if I get tired, sometimes I almost forget to use my Forgeborn ability anyway. No, no, not when I'm playing Forge Shield Mantis though, because that one I'm always thinking about wanting to use my abilities. But I think this card is going to, and the idea of these Exalted Forgeborn is going to really put the game upside down, and like I'm excited to see what happens. So now we have
Yeah,
the
the
Exalted.
abilities are great.
Oh yeah, so the Exalted Sunder is one that I'm also very excited to see played. So we got sorry, I got to keep doing a quick show of the deck
Couple
that I
more.
have fused. We're literally almost done. Of the stuff that we've like we're catching up on. So Elemental Frenzy. So when this is transformed, you may deal 5 damage to a creature, which right off the bat is pretty solid removal for like you. I think we've got a couple Koroks that basically just do 5 damage by activating at level 2. So it's like just getting this as your transform like could be really strong depending on exactly how these work. So you got Fog of War, choose an enemy creature, it battles another enemy creature of your choice. So like that's like
That's nuts.
basically a turnabout, just right off the bat at cycle 3,
Way
Level
better.
guaranteed.
3 turn about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's level 3.
We've got Shadowbound. When you play a spell this turn, deal 8 damage to an enemy creature and an enemy player. It's like super, super Gathering Storm. I wish it was like Stormbound instead of Shadowbound or like Shadowstorm, but either way, the flavor and the ability is there. So this is a card I can't wait to play. I could say that already. So what do you both think?
Okay, yeah, it's all amazing. I'm pretty curious to see if Fog of War is the same at every level, or if it's just turnabout at level 2. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, all the abilities seem incredible to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, these Exalted Forgeborn are like, okay, there has to be something, some trick, because these abilities are absolutely insane. Especially when you get like Mantis Forge Seal involved, especially when like Shadowbound, if like Flame Jet, for example, all of a sudden is insane, because even at level 1, then it's dealing 13 damage and probably killing a creature. So
And like I feel like it's got to be a punishment though to transform these based on the storyline event, because like you
Yeah.
had to basically give up your Forgeborn ability to be able to activate your last storyline trigger. So it's like I feel like it's like you've got to punish yourself or sacrifice your level 2 or something to get to the point where you can use these level 3 or 4. Like there's a part of me that thinks if it doesn't transform, you won't even be able to see the 3 or 4. That because like you can't just like Forge Seal Mantis and cheat that out. Like I feel like it's gonna be like pretty hard to get it flipped, but I could be wrong. It might just be like, hey, guess what? It's gonna transform no matter what.
it's gonna be activate, set your life to 10,
Oh,
transform this.
yeah, that would be tough. I would
Yeah.
struggle for that. I'd
Probably
still do it
snap that
though.
off. I don't know.
See
Depends on the matchup, I guess.
Yeah.
that being said, like part of me is like, man, I wish this was in a deck with Nova Elementalist, but I'm also a monster. But I have a feeling we're not going to see most of the soul binds that are in set 2 and set 3. If there's going to be any, which we know there's at least one. My guess is they're gonna probably all be new. Like I doubt there's going to be a reprint soul bind, but you never know.
Fletcher, I'd like to point out that Nathas is the one who flipped every round. I'm the one who refused to flip. So some of us can actually resist temptation.
I cannot. As you could tell just by the fact that my collection's so large, as soon as I'm like, oh, like Fletch mentioned during Gen Con, like there is a chance you could get 2 Omnis in the same deck, and it's really hard because it's got to be rolled. And at that point, like that night, I think I bought like another case of Kickstarter because I was like, I want to get an Omni with 2 or deck with 2 Omnis. I cannot, I cannot resist. I go to the temptation at all times.
Weekend also said Sam and Bladed Sam, and I've never once felt like a paladin until I met Nathas.
Yeah,
So
you are the opposite. You are the
yeah,
balancer.
somehow.
All right. So I know these again are in ABC order, I think. So these are very close to the end now. So we've got, which we were talking about, are suppressing in purple. Nirali and Engulfer. So Exalted, activate to destroy a creature with 2 or less attack. As I have to go fix this once more. The level 2 is Exalted, activate to destroy a creature with 5 or less attack. And then activate to destroy a creature with 7 or less attack. So what do you guys think about this one?
I think this is assuming that Dark Heart Sorcerer is in this set. I think this is the best constructed card we've seen so far.
I can see
Pretty
that.
close with the plant guy, but yeah, I mean it deals with Dark Heart Sorcerer profitably. It's just like I don't know what more you can ask from a card, and it's great even outside of that specific case too. It hits most minions at level 1. Doesn't hit zombies, but just about everything else.
I mean, suppressing on an activate is insane. So
I agree.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing where like I'm excited to have Exalt stay on the board for a card like this.
yeah, this is how we break the sacrificial chamber and whatnot, and then we do the Asir Wind Reverb that readies it and destroy another creature.
That's insane. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, you just do all sorts of abuse with this. Like, oh my god.
What were you thinking, Fletch?
It even randomly blocks well somehow.
Yeah.
Like, it is really fragile, but I mean, you're gonna get your value out of it or get your block out of it if you're off Forge. So I don't know. This thing seems amazing. It is an ooze, which probably doesn't matter, but
it better soon. I want my ooze tribal.
And it's a common.
Yeah, it's common.
Yeah, this is a card that I'm going to be excited to see when I open a deck. Like,
so this is probably going to hurt your Nova Elementalist decks a little bit more because you have more removal for that Dark Heart.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't be playing this if there's no Dark Hearts, but because you would have to pick this over Dark Heart, which is silly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a really powerful card in general anyway.
Yeah. Although we haven't seen much of purple yet. So it's like, as we see more purple cards, there could be some really good payoffs in this set that we're just not even on our radar yet.
Yeah, we're supposed to see Tempest and Necreum next week, aren't we?
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, because they did the Utera and Aloyan highlights this week, so they're doing Tempest and Necreum next week.
Oh, that's sick. I'm excited for that. So we've got one more left. This is our last one before we start getting into the exciting stuff that everyone's here for. So we got Shield Roid, which I am very excited to hear how this is officially pronounced because it looks like it could be Shield Droid, Shield Roid. It looks like it's kind of on roids. It's got the muscles and the veins. So this is a card that just I saw this and I was like, I love this card. I don't care like what it does. Like just right off the bat, is one of my like just favorite in terms of just like flavor of the art in the name. Especially because I feel like it needs one more D. Like Shield Droid makes so much more sense, but like I just want it to be like Shield Droid so bad. But it's got Exalted, activate, give each of your creatures 1 armor this turn. Exalted, activate to give each of your creatures 2 armor this turn. And Exalted, activate to give each of your creatures 3 armor this turn. I'm going to preemptively fix the photo thing so it's not going to go away. So it's got a big body. And it potentially protects itself because it's each of your creatures, not just each robot. Like I think this is a secretly very strong card. That's going to be really good if you have an Exalt that just sticks around that could potentially either give armor, something that can just like have an extra utility that sticks on the board, like this with like a Spiral Golem Conclave, where you drop it in that lane to give it a bunch of power, and then you give everything toughness. It's just like you could have a lot of just really cool synergies with this one that can just protect all your cards. So I like this card a lot personally.
It just seems good to me. I'm generally happy to have 6/6s, just vanillas, and this isn't that far off and can be better sometimes.
Yeah. And like a 13/13 at level 3 is pretty solid.
13/10, get it right.
Well, it's gonna
be armor.
Yeah. Like this is a card, if I'm playing it, I want to have Exalts in my deck.
Yeah, I'm not too excited by the ability, but the stat line's pretty good. So we'll see if I'm wrong about the ability, and it turns out that it's like absolutely insane or what. But
Well, when we get
it's
the,
just
the Forge Plate Yeti that instead of dealing it to a creature, deals it to a player, and you just give a ton of armor and then play that card to then just deal damage to their face, that's going to be the combo. I feel it.
yeah.
All right, so these are the last of the spoilers that I have saved from this set so far. So obviously, everyone who's tuned in is probably like, we've seen these already. We don't care about this. We want to actually hear about the new cards, which is what we're going to get into next. So the first thing, so I know what I ended up doing before the stream was I reached out to both Sam and Matt, and I was like, here is my spoiler card. Look at it. Don't talk to each other. Don't even reference it to each other. Don't talk to me about it. Just pick a deck or some cards or an idea of what you think kind of synergizes well with this, so we can kind of talk through it and kind of give some hints about what the spoiler is, and then I'm going to reveal it at the end of the stream. So I don't know if either of you would like to go first, because I think it would be fun for both of you to go, and then for me to show the deck that I fused that kind of embodies my spoiler, and then we'll kind of get into the final reveal. So
I think mine is going to be the least spoilerly, simply because mine's just a random half deck. And I'll actually drop it into the chat here.
all right, so I'll bring it up on the screen. Thanks for taking my assignment to heart and just picking a random half deck. All right. So let me get it on the screen.
I think Mundungu and I kind of went the same pathway. Of
This is what I would have.
look for Krogius.
This is similar
Interesting.
to what I would have looked for sure.
Yeah. So you got that, and then I don't want to say too much, but some of the cards dealing with your minion synergy and whatnot, and a little bit of armor might help the particular faction of the spoiler. I don't know what faction deals with that kind of stuff. Probably Decrium or something. I don't know. But yeah, overall, it seemed like interesting. The only thing I wished on the Oros for this particular card would be Bark Skin, but this one doesn't have it.
Okay, that makes sense. So Barkskin's the one that gives armor, correct?
Yep.
All right, so just to kind of go through the deck that they picked. So it looks like they were picking something that they wanted to play a Krogius. So it looks like they're thinking upgrade is important part of this. So you've got the Mantis, which lets you activate your ability, and it's got the armored modifier here. We've got a ferocious polymorpher, so we got armor here as well as the polymorpher ability, which can replace an enemy creature with a wisp. We've got a hibernating Decayosaur, which I feel like is just one of those filler cards. We've got
It's a
Leyline.
dinosaur. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, true. You had to throw a dino in with it no matter what you
Yeah,
did.
of course.
We've got a Leyline Vermin, which basically can make creatures lose printed abilities, and we got the Guardian, which is a great card just in general. So it looks like you did a lot of things that are specifically looking to slow down your opponent, and I think this might be on accident. It might be on purpose, where you've got your Polymorpher, your Vermin, your Dendrify. So there's a lot of cards that could kind of replace other creatures. Was this
Oh
on
yeah,
purpose, or was this something
yeah.
that
It actually was on purpose. I looked at this deck. This is probably the first time I actually looked at this deck, and I'm like, oh, it's actually like a decent deck.
Eli, you have not missed the reveal yet. So what we're doing is I sent them each to come up with a deck that they think, or some cards that they think really embodied the spoiler, to see if they kind of went to the same route, and then we're gonna reveal it after I talk through my spoiler. So we'll be getting there very shortly. So is there a card out of all of this that you would say is the most important for the spoiler?
Progeus.
Krogius?
100% Progeus.
All right. So I'll leave this one on the screen, and then so Matt, you said that you wrote down a list. You didn't specifically pick a deck, but you picked some cards or some notes. So if you want to go through
Yeah, well, I wrote a whole lot of thoughts about the card, which some of them probably don't make sense without seeing it. But yeah, the main point that I had for constructed, if you're looking for what cards you want in the deck, Proteus is number one. And that's, again, Proteus is like a card we brought up several times going through all the spoilers that we've seen so far. So it just feels like either that or something similar to that is going to be in the set. If I wasn't going to pick a green deck for my half, I would be looking for like a set one deck with some stalling abilities. But basically, the Krogius archetype is what I would be looking to put the new card into.
Interesting. All right. So, is there any other thoughts that either of you have before I show the half deck I did a fuse deck, so I picked two halves, which is going to give a lot of hints towards, I think, the card and what we're spoiling here. Do either of you have any comments before I bring up mine?
The only other card of note that I thought of was Forge Plate Yeti,
Yeah.
because that's just
Interesting.
like a good payoff right now.
Interesting. Is that something that was on your list, Matt?
No, I didn't. Didn't write that one down.
Interesting. We'll have to see well, why there's a difference in a little bit. I'm interested to see kind of where that disconnect was. So what I'll do is let me show my deck that I fused. So give me a second to pull it up. All right, here we go. So I picked a green-blue pair, especially because with this week being upgrade week, I think this would have been a very fun deck to kind of just make sure those two factions were together. And also, like, my spoiler is obviously in one of these two factions because that's the focus of this week. So I didn't really focus on the Forgeborns too much, but between the two, I would probably pick Ironbeard. So give a creature +4 this turn. It gets 4 armor. You and your creatures get 6 armor this turn. Then it's got knockback, which you could move creatures back to the back row. You may give them -10 health. So this was just I thought was interesting based off of just the general archetype and the idea of the card itself. So we've got an Ardent Basher here, which is interesting because I really enjoy just creatures with breakthrough. I think that being able to have creatures with breakthrough are just really important, especially with just in general the upgrade ability. So something you'll see here is I picked decks that had the ability to upgrade a lot. So I picked a Betrayer Necromancer here. It's got aggressive breakthrough and it's got the ability to activate to upgrade a level 1 card. It's like just typical upgrade Necromancer shenanigans. Um, this one here, it's an armored Bartok, so you got some armor on the card, and it also buffs the card. So it's like you give it +2/+2 for the next creature you play. It's just in general, I really enjoy Bartoks, and it's just I thought this would be a fun card to have in the fuse that I was going to put together for my spoiler. Spiky Druid, this one is just in here. It's not super relevant for the pairing. That being said, in general, I like Spiky as an ability a lot. I think that it could just be a board filler and it could just help you get to the late game. If you end up upgrading it to be able to get your Oak Father from it, it's like not the end of the world. We got Stampeding Slayer. There's actually a lot more breakthrough in this deck than I thought there was. So, but either way, just being able to push damage is really important. And I think that it's just important to have something like this in the deck. Bramble Axe Warrior. If your creatures can survive, get through the deck cycle, being able to buff them is strong. In the green, I guess I'll go through all the creatures and all the spells. Virtuoso is here because it's a filler card. Forge Plate Yeti is an interesting one. It's actually one that I thought would be interesting too, so I picked it for mine. Palladium Hintermind, being able to give armor, being able to move creatures around if you have mages is good. We got Recycling Allomancer, so just because there's so many mages in the pairing so far, I was like, let me find one that has an Allomancer in it. Steadfast Justicar is just another creature in here that kind of made its way in. And we've got Taunting Drone, which is just good because, again, I love drone stealth, upgrading cards. It just feels very much in the theme of what we're trying to do. Now, on the spell side, it's also really important. So we've got a lot of buffing. So we've got Savage Oath here. We've got Ferocious Roar. We've got Twin Strength. We got Feral Instinct. So not only do these buff attack health, they give armor. There's a lot of ways to have resiliency on your creatures. Now, on the Alolan half, we've got Energy Surge, Metasite, Warmonger Mod, and Nanoswarm. So we've got just ways to upgrade cards, play them for free. Um, so we've got like Energy Surge is just a card that's like okay at level 1, better at level 2. At level 3, it's insane because you get to upgrade a card, play it for free. Same thing with Warmonger Mod, just being able to play the Gizmo, play a creature for free, play a Mega, play a creature for free. So as a result, I think that the spoiler in general that I have really embodies this. So there's a few themes that I picked here. I don't know if you guys want to kind of see what I've kind of alluded in on and kind of what I'm focusing on for this deck. Like what cards I think and out of this pairing are the most important for you.
I like all the upgrading, the breakthrough options. Those make a lot of sense. Drone is also a pretty good pick for having high synergy with the card. But this seems like a pretty good sample pairing for sure.
Yeah,
And it doesn't have a Krogus, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's terrible because there's no Krogius and there's only one dinosaur. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I mentioned the Fortunate Yeti. You got like Energy Surge. Warmonger mod seems interesting for this. Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely an interesting pairing. Before we get to the spoiler as well, Mundungu, would you say that this makes Ironbeard your favorite Forgeborn playable?
Define playable. I think it's legal to put it into a deck. Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. I would say it doesn't make Ironbeard playable. All right, so basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my spoiler on the screen. I'm going to put the level 1 on first. So give me 1 second to get it up.
More than most said that it's an upgrading card that gives armor, and then at level 3 gives armor and attack equal to its armor or some sort of armor payoff.
Interesting.
Seems like a good guess.
It's close.
So what I'm
I'd say
going
it's
to
close.
do is I'm going to put something on the screen. Give me a second. It's just I want to make sure I get everything set up before. So don't say anything on our side because we could see the screen before everybody else. All right, so we have nature's progression. So I'm going to talk about the level 1, and we're going to go level by level. And let me make it full screen. So give a creature +4/+2. You may upgrade a creature in your hand, then discard it. So Mundungu, I'm going to let you react real quick to this level 1 first before I go into the higher levels. What are your thoughts?
So thoughts right away is the things that stick out, or the thing that sticks out to me the most is upgrade a creature, which kind of points towards Krogius or similar things. And additionally to that is, in my opinion, one of the problems with a lot of the Krogius decks that I've played against is that they're way too passive. Like you're just way too comfortable playing against them the first couple cycles. And I'll often have just 5 creatures on the board. So having something like this in your Krogius deck that can actually make a threat and make your opponent put your opponent on their back foot a little bit at least, and make them react to it, can be a pretty big deal, and possibly a different angle on the archetype that we haven't seen yet. So having cards like this can be really strong in the deck.
Yeah, so even just looking at the level 1, I think just like the Krogius being a really important thing, I think the new Guardian, that is whenever you upgrade a creature, like you play upgrade a creature, when you have the level 3, it lets you upgrade a creature, play it for free. Like I think there's just a lot of really cool synergies that are starting to develop in Utera. So Sam, what are your thoughts on the level 1?
Yeah, so it definitely helps with your breakthrough creatures and then the upgrade synergy within the Utera and Aloyan factions. And then giving that armor bonus just because it will make up for the lack of health will help a lot as well.
Interesting, and this is definitely something you've seen before, right?
Yeah, totally.
Interesting.
Because someone did say that they're going to do something stupid for their stream and try to get me to react.
So, what I will say is so both of them, I'm not going to say exactly what's going on in the background right now until we get through this, but there is something that I'm also doing to both Sam and Matt that I think is pretty hilarious, that will also be very enjoyable for everybody once you kind of realize what's going on. So we got nature's
Shenanigans, I
progression.
tell you.
So we got the level 2 coming up. So obviously the level 1, it gives +2/+4/+4/+2. The level 2 gives a creature +6/+4. You may upgrade a creature in your hand and then discard it. So it's something that scales very well from number 1 to 2. It's kind of got that Warmonger mod feel. And let me just make sure it's actually sharing appropriately. Actually, no, it is, because I could see it on the screen. So you're buffing +4/+2. It gives you more attack than health, which I kind of like for being in Utera. Now you're giving a creature +6/+4, so it's a little bit more of a buff, so it still feels good to play at your upper level or your middle level, and you're upgrading creature in your hand and discarding it. So I think just the level 2 is not a bad card. It's not something I'm necessarily like reaching out for, but being able to buff a creature and upgrade something that you miss in your other cycles, or push something up like upgrade that Krogius, or upgrading another creature that could really help you benefit later in the game could be really strong for this card. So what do you guys think about the level 2 before we move on to level 3?
Yeah, I agree with more than most. Seems like a pretty natural progression from 1 to 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, fairly standard.
I wish that the bunny got more angry as it continued. So they're saying level 3 needs to be pretty powerful. Energy Surge is really strong at level 3. So this is the level 3. And I think that this is pretty solid. It's not as good as Energy Surge in terms of playing a card for free. And let me just fix the photo app there. So I know in the future I'm not going to be using the default photo app to try to stream this or pictures in the future. So at level 3, as nature progresses and you get to level 3, this spell is free. You get to give a creature +6/+4, and you may upgrade a creature in your hand. So it's kind of got that Aegis Wings vibe, like that Necro vibe, where as long as you could upgrade this, so you don't even necessarily need to play the level 1 or the level 2. If you have your Necromancer, use your other upgrade cards, as long as it's the non-Utera cards, because obviously you can only upgrade creatures so far that we can see in Utera. You can basically get to a point where you're just getting a free buff, and you're upgrading a creature in your hand that you don't have to discard. So it's like you can pull out that level 3 Krogius without even having to play anything in cycle 3. So it's like you have the level 2 in your hand, you upgrade it, drop it out, you buff another creature on the board, all for doing nothing. So I think it's an interesting progression. I think I wish that level 2 was free as well, or I wish that there was like it gave it like breakthrough or something where you're not just getting a little bit more power. But level 3 I think is pretty strong. And yeah, like as Eli said, any card that is free is good. So what do you guys think about this one?
Yeah, this is what you're hoping to get to, and yeah, like you said, you can play the Krogius all the way. If you have the level 1 Krogius in your hand, you can get a level 3 out immediately. But yeah, you're just really happy to see this is free right off the bat. The rest of it hardly even matters, but the upgrade a creature in your hand, that's again more redundancy in your upgrade archetype. So typically, you're gonna want to have some mix of enablers and payoff cards in your upgrade deck. Probably not just Krogius, and this is another card that helps you get there, assuming that creatures, of course.
All right, well, how about you, Sam? What do you think?
Seems pretty solid for like a turbo upgrade. I mean, you probably don't want to play the level 2 as much. So I can imagine you just like upgrading past the 2 just to get this free card, because free cards are good cards. But yeah, no, I definitely wish it gave like breakthrough or something. It would be kind of hilarious to watch it be like free and then upgrade a card and then manage to get a free card off of that other green card of the first time you upgrade a creature.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some synergies for sure.
Yeah, and like I said, I think this is going to be insane with that new Guardian. That
More
whenever
than
you,
most mentioned it too.
yeah, like the first thing I did when I saw this card, I was like, I want this card in the same deck with I forget the exact name of the card, but it's the new Guardian where when you upgrade the first creature each turn, you play it for free. So it's like you basically get a free spell, buff something, you upgrade a creature in your hand that you then get to drop out for free. So this is the card I want in my fuse with the new Guardian. But
Yeah, it's
now,
a cultivating guardian, and then the
yeah, cultivating
new
Guardian.
DS called it Oak Pappy, as the name is.
I love that. Oak Pappy. So now you guys are wondering why CardboardNewt was thinking, hey, like Forge Plate Yeti would be pretty good with a spoiler, because I'm not done yet. So I actually have 2 spoilers for today. And that's why, Matt, when you saw this, you were probably thinking, like, why is he saying Forge Plate Yeti? And then Sam, when I brought this up, you're probably like, what is happening right now? And why is this not what you sent
Oh, I
me?
fully knew that you're trying to get me to react. I knew what was happening.
Oh yeah. So I will say you made it sound like you knew exactly what this card was, because Sam has never seen this card before, and the card that's about to come out, Matt has never seen before as well. So we've got Nature's Progression. We've got all 3 levels that we've seen. I think this card is a really fun one, and I do think that this is one of the. I think it is the first card in Nuterra that does upgrade. Well, not this first, the second. Now that we have the Cultivating Guardian, but The fact that, again, Utera really
yeah.
focuses on upgrading creatures, I think is really flavorful. It makes it so you still need your Alolan to upgrade your spells. So, like, you need something that will upgrade other cards to be able to play Nature's Progression to its full value. So, a Corrupt Drone would be pretty nice with this card.
I did write down several other like sealed synergies with this card too.
Yeah, let's hear it before we
Or
move
like
on.
so kind of relying on some cards that may or may not be in the set are like Voltaic Magus and Mosthic Mugatha.
Oh, yeah.
Those are both really nice with it, especially level 1. It turns on their breakthrough / shields immediately, and they're already pretty beefy, so just adding even more to that is a huge deal. Also works well with any researching creatures that may or may not be in the set. And if somehow we can get this paired with Shard King, it helps you flip Shard Cavern as well.
Oh, that's a great point.
If we're going to go towards the more aggressive slant on the deck, you can upgrade some things that you don't necessarily want to play on level 1 and increase your power on all your breakthrough guys and dinos. But I think this card is just really good in general and sealed because there's a lot fewer Dreadbolts and things like that nature around. So adding +4/+2 to really any creature is good on its own. And you really want to just get your deck upgraded in general so that you can pull ahead as you go further into the cycles, because you're almost guaranteed to see cycle 3 and usually see cycle 4 in sealed, or often see it rather.
No, that's a great point. And I actually think the Mystic Megatha, if that's how you pronounce it, is going to be pretty good and constructed if it's in the set too, which I feel like it's got to be, because with all these Exalt and Exalted creatures, buffing it to put on the breakthrough, but then also all the Exalts that we're going to see in the game, like, it's just, I think that card might be a pretty big threat, because like breakthrough is always really good, especially when you could get a lot of power to it. So I didn't even think of that when I was looking at this card, and I think that's a really good card to kind of see for this. So that was a good pull.
And an anti-synergy is Scypian Experimentation, not a creature, but that's the sad one.
Yeah, you're right. Because, like, granted, there's like a little part of me when I first saw that I was like, part of me was like, I wish that it said upgrade a card, not just a creature. But the more I think about Utera and upgrading creatures, like, I think I really like the fact that this is how they went and this is the flavor they picked. So now that, is there anything else about Nature's Progression before we progress on to the next card?
I think I'm good to move on.
Progress.
So now that we've seen Nature's Progression, here is Alolan Monolith, which is what Sam had prepared for and Mundungu has not seen before. So let me just make sure that the app is pre-set so we can get to level 1. So we've got Alolan Monolith level 1, which is an Exalt. So deploy it, you get to upgrade a level 1 card in your hand, then discard it. You can activate to destroy this to give creatures in this lane, or give your creature in this lane 6 armor this turn. So it's right off the bat before we look at the higher levels. This is pretty solid because, again, you deploy it, you just get to upgrade something immediately. So it feels like you're like any of your cards that basically do upgrade in set 1 or set 2. So it's like I can't believe I'm blanking right now. But you get your Warmonger mod ability for kind of that upgrade. You get the Energy Surge for that upgrade. Well, I guess they both make the or the Warmonger mod makes the Gizmo instead. But you basically get your upgrade ability right off the bat, and just by deploying it. So even if you don't necessarily care as much about the second ability, it just kind of replaces itself in a way, because you don't have to play a card in your hand and you get to level it up. So it's really good with Krogius, which is kind of why both of them immediately went to Krogius as one of their options. Now, with the exalted creatures such as the I can't believe I forgot the name again, but the Panther creature that's got the 13/1, which deals damage before combat, you could basically protect it by destroying your Exalt to be able to give. Well, actually, never mind, because when it gets destroyed, you'll lose the Exalted. But you can
you won't get the strike ability.
Yeah, that's true. That being said, you can still protect a creature in your lane, so it's like you get a little bit of the best of both worlds in terms of protecting a creature and upgrading a card. I feel like Alolan Monolith, just for the name of this, feels pretty Alolan. Well, like it feels like it fits, because you get your upgrade, you get your armor, and this is where Forge Plate Yeti kind of comes in the play, because you could activate, give something armor, then play the Forge Plate Yeti to be able to deal damage. So that's kind of where I think both of us picked Forge Plate Yeti as one of the cards that pairs well with this card. So now we go to level 2.
Yeah.
So
great with Yeti and the
sorry,
I forgot what it's called. There's that spell that deals damage equal to the armor on a creature.
Yeah, the Bulwark Bash or something.
Bulwark Bash, yeah.
This also seems like right away to me when I saw this, I was like, this has to be a cycle. Like this can't just be a lion monolith. Like there's
Oh,
probably something for each of the factions.
that's a really good point. I hope they all say deploy to upgrade. Well, no, not actually, because that's an Alolan thing. I just love
Yeah, I don't think it's
upgrading.
gonna be that.
It's one of those things where when I got both of these cards, because when Fletch sent me both, I was like, was this a mistake? And he was like, no, these are both for you. And then I was like, man, like I feel like you picked these because you know that I like upgrading cards in my Corrupt Drone. And this definitely just feels very, very much like a card that they would give to me. So this is the level 1. So is there anything else you guys have to say about level 1 before I move on to level 2?
More than most made the point that's so much better than Shield Noted. Yeah, definitely is
Yeah,
better than
agreed.
Shield Noted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least not quite a dead card anymore.
Exactly. So it's like you could leave it as an Exalted card when you need it, but then you could also destroy it to give armor. So it's like you're just a better shield node for sure. Now you're level 2, which I'm going to have to fix my thing real quick before we continue. All right, so we got Alolan Monolith level 2, so it's got to upgrade a card in your hand and discard it. So typical Alolan. So instead of just doing level 1 to upgrade, you could upgrade any card. So it kind of actually feels like a Necromancer. Then you could activate Destroy this to give a creature in the lane 10 armor. So it scales pretty well. Like 10 armor is a lot of armor to give at level 2. And you're going to be potentially pushing up your level 1, or sorry, your level 2 Krogius to a level 3. You might get your level 1 to a level 2. So it's like you're basically going to control the board a little bit. You're going to stall, keep your creatures on the board. So like any of your cool activated Exalt creatures, or we have the new one that like whenever you upgrade a card, you ready. So it's like you could play this, or so you could activate to give a creature -5 attack. You can play this, upgrade a card in your hand, ready it. You could give it another -5 attack, and then you could give it armor and protect it basically. So it's like you could really like synergize this with a lot of the new cards. And I apologize that I don't remember all the names of the new cards yet. So what do you guys think about this level 2? Like I think it scales pretty well. It feels like it's kind of going up like a monolith.
Yeah, it's this is about what you'd expect out of level 2. It's good that it's not. Well, I guess it wouldn't be level gated if it said 1 or 2 anyway. But yeah, it's about what you'd expect.
Not quite natural progression, but definitely like a building progression.
Got him. Because it's a building, or I guess a monolith. It looks like a building, but it's more of like a monument.
Oh, sorry, I didn't understand the difference between monuments and buildings.
I don't know. Fletch could clarify if this is actually something
Yeah,
that someone lives in.
that's a
Maybe,
Rose question, right?
yeah. What is it? What does it mean? All right, so let's go to level 3 as long as we're good to move on to level 3. So we've got, and let me just preemptively fix this. So we've got deploy to upgrade a card in your hand, and then destroy this to give one of your creatures in this lane 15 armor this turn. So I like this because this, again, the 2 cards that I spoiled today, the progression and the monolith, both upgrade cards, which like just feel like they synergize very well together. Like I'd love to pair a deck with the 2 of these together, but then having your cultivating guardian where you're upgrading cards, playing them for free, it's just there's a lot of cards that say upgrade right now, and I feel like you can pick your deck based on if you want to be able to play aggressively. You might not necessarily want to be giving your stuff armor, but then you could like use the one that's giving you attack. So it's like I think Alolan Monolith is a really cool card, and I'm curious what you guys think, especially because like how this level 3 kind of scales.
Yeah, I can see a lot like getting played a lot more in sealed and constructed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'll be pretty good. It might actually make me consider playing blue sealed, especially with the lack of removal and just being able to give armor, and then also just keep going on curve with upgrades. Like it's just like a really good card for that kind of stuff. And then if a lion has, as I've been saying, like finishers or anything like that, this might be like a good card just to keep momentum. It might not be like the most played card. It's not going to be the most important card by any means, but it'll be at least something that's achieving like your end goal.
For sure. I will note that. Oh, sorry, you go first.
Yeah, I mean it's another enabler if you're going to be if you want the upgrade ability in your deck. It's really nice that it's not the other way around. Like you're probably going to value the upgrade more than the armor in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
So you can still get the upgrade trigger, and if you also value Exalted, you can keep that on the table instead of getting the armor. But of course, in a pinch, you can always get the armor. It is a little sad that you have to choose one or the other, but still getting an upgrade and having an exalt on the table in one card could potentially be pretty powerful in the right deck, depending on what kind of exalted creatures are out there.
I agree, and I feel like this is a card though that's probably feels a little worse as an underdrop. Just because the fact that your level 1's level gated to only upgrading a level 1 card. If it just said upgrade a card and discard it, upgrade a card and then discard it, then upgrade a card in your hand, kind of like your Aetherforge Oracle, I think it would have felt even better as an underdrop if you miss it during cycles 1 or 2, where you could just upgrade something that's like a little bit more progressed. So it's like it feels like if you miss it early, you might not want to play it later unless you just need that exalt on the field or you really want to get that armor for being able to have something survive combat. So I agree with you that this does feel more like a sealed card than a constructed card. That being said, I'm excited to see how the rest of the set progresses because being able to again just like haphazardly upgrade cards is really strong. And I think that being able to like I know I'm personally going to try to forge a deck with both of these cards together, your monolith and your what's it called? I can't even remember the name of my own spoiler. Nature's Progression. Um, but yeah, so I think it's going to be. I think these are both really cool cards, and I think that they will not be the game breakers. They're not going to be something that's going to like immediately draw you to the deck. But I think that these are support cards that are going to push you forward and help you like push your game plan to the end. Because at the end of the day, like when you have a dead card in your deck, it means it just does nothing, right? So if you have like your venerable like Slayer, it's just gonna sit there. It's a body. It's nothing that's super special. If this ends up being like your ninth or your 10th card, where you're actually just getting upgrade out of it alone, that's great value. Now you could throw in the fact that it's giving armor and helping you live through combat. Like it's just got a lot of versatility. Where at face value, when I first saw this, I was just like, okay. And the more that I look at it, I'm like, I feel like this is a card I could see myself wanting in a deck for when I need it. It's almost like my security blanket for when I need a little bit more armor or when I need to push that extra upgrade card. And like my dream is now to have like a deck that has every card that upgrades something because I feel like we're getting to that route because there's so much upgrade so far in this set and so much upgrade synergy. So more than most did mention that Sculptor really likes upgrade spells, and I agree with that 100%. So like being able to play this as a
Yeah.
free spell is insane. So do either of you have any more comments on Monolith?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we kind of covered all of the bases on it.
It's definitely a interesting flavor of upgrade card that we haven't seen before. So.
I agree. Yeah, so this was definitely like as I sent both of you. This is now that like I've kind of showed everything that's gone on. When I messaged both of them and just was like, "Hey, like, do not talk to each other. Do not talk to me about this." I was just sitting there laughing because I was like leaving work and I was just like, "Man, like they're both gonna think that they're looking at the same card." And like I was trying to figure out if I wanted to throw everything on the screen at once to show both cards, but I thought it'd be funnier just to put Sam on the spot. And
I
then
see.
Yeah, of course he did.
yeah,
I knew it.
so yeah, I think that in general, from everything I've seen so far, I'm really excited for set three. I think that for me, it's going to add a lot of depth to the game. So we've got already just in the first like 10 to 15 cards, we've got answers to some of the bigger problems in sets 1 and 2. We've got ways to kind of push cards forward like we've never seen before. Like we're seeing upgrade in what's it called? I can't even speak. Utera. We're seeing upgrade in Utera, which I think is just really cool here because you really want to be playing creatures and being able to upgrade more creatures is really going to help you push your game plan forward. Um, we're seeing a lot of just like readying, a lot of activated abilities. We're seeing exalts that kind of really want to stay on the board with that exalted ability. Like I think this is really going to try to push us to change how we play the game, and I'm excited to see how they like these cards impact competitive play because I know all three of us play a lot of games. All three of us really enjoy the competitive aspect of games. We also enjoy just like brewing decks and just playing random things and having fun. And I do think that this set, no matter what happens, just from these cards, I think this is going to be a very fun set to brew around. I think there's so many cool cards already that like we're gonna have a lot of fun just playing this in sealed. We're gonna have a lot of fun playing constructed decks to experiment. But I think that we already have like a couple cards that really are piquing some competitive play, in my opinion.
We should
So,
do some set 3 only bronze events.
ooh,
Oh,
I'd
that'd be
love
fun.
that. I would love
Yeah.
that, and I'm happy to run that too. Um, Like, part of me just wants to find a way to, like, I know some people have found ways to get cards into TTS. Like, I would love just to like replace random cards and some fuses with some of these just to actually get them on the board and try them, because like I feel like these are just going to be a lot of fun to play with. But I agree, set 3 regulated like bronze events would be so much fun. Maybe we should do that with set 2 too. Maybe just say, hey,
Yeah,
everyone.
just I guess
Yeah,
set 2 has Nova Dark Heart, so
that's
We
true.
just take out Nova Dark Heart and call it good.
Well, we'll see, because obviously we have that Dark Heart card from Lucas's profile that has the crying Dark Heart instead of the happy Dark Heart.
Mm.
Like, I'm excited to see what this announcement is tomorrow. Like, there's a
yeah.
little part of me that's like, there's going to be a spoiler that makes Dark Heart sad. Like, I wonder if there's going to be some sort of errata coming. I'm hoping that it's more of a spoiler versus an errata, because like,
I think Fletcher yesterday said something about it not being a spoiler. It was either today or yesterday. Here it is. Fletcher said that Casey Kid is the only person doing a spoiler tomorrow. Not true. And that tomorrow
wow, you're forgotten.
I know. And it's not his card. So.
Interesting.
Hmm.
So, long story short, you do not exist. You do not matter.
Yep, I know. It's
But
okay. We're gonna talk about some cards tomorrow. Not important cards. Nothing matters. It's fine.
but for everyone who's still here, so in addition to KC Kid, CardboardNewt also has their set 3 spoiler for tomorrow as well. Unless maybe you screwed up and it's not actually tomorrow. That would be pretty funny if you think your spoiler is tomorrow and it's not.
I've been saying for the longest time that I'm going to be doing it Friday. So
You haven't said which Friday. Maybe it's next
I am.
Friday.
No, it's not.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time. But yeah, so I would
I
also
am.
say tune in there as well, because I think whatever happens for CardboardNewt spoiler, hopefully they don't have 2 as well. If they have like 3 tomorrow to one up me, I'm gonna be so upset. But I was excited when. Oh, what's up?
I just went back through my stuff, and yep, Fletcher told me to spoil it Friday through Sunday. So I'm going to spoil the same card 3 days in a row.
Oh, I love it.
That's what I'm going to do now.
True. That's so great. But yeah, so I guess after this conversation, it looks like we're probably going to have some sort of set 2 constructed tournaments on the horizon, because I think that'll be a lot of fun. Now I'm more worried, or not more worried, but more interested to see what this announcement's going to be tomorrow, knowing it's not a spoiler. Um, I think there's a part of me that thinks that we're gonna errata because part of me, like, I was like, if we errata the fact that transforming and exalt is no longer playing a spell, then they probably would not show Darkheart, unless maybe Darkheart's sad because there's less spells for him to feast on. But like, I just wonder, like, imagine if they come out tomorrow and saying like Darkheart is banned. Like, I couldn't imagine that. So I feel like we either need a rules change or an errata or something. Like, even if they say Darkheart the first time you play a spell each turn, do this, like, I'd be kind of sad. Like, I love my Darkheart. Like, I don't know. Like, it'll be interesting. Like, I guess. Do you have any different theories, either of you, than I do for what this announcement's going to be tomorrow?
No idea, really.
It's probably just going to be an errata to Darkheart's wording, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
And also, Matt, I know you said you had to leave around 9 Eastern. I just realized it's
Yeah.
9:05, so
I probably got a drop. But...
yeah, and this is probably a good point for us to end this as well. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and I'm really excited about both of these cards. So just real quick to scan through them before I jump off, we've got a Loyan Monolith, which is level 1, deploy, upgrade a level 1 card in your hand to discard it. We've got activate to give your creature armor. Your level 2 is deploy, upgrade a card in your hand, then discard it. Destroy one of your creatures, or destroy this to give one of your creatures 10 armor in that lane. And then the level 3 is upgrade a card in your hand. Activate to destroy this to give one of your creatures 15 armor in this lane. So that's our Loyan Monolith. And then I also have Nature's Progression, which is give a creature +4/+2. You may upgrade a creature in your hand and discard it. We've got give a creature +6/+4. You may upgrade a creature in your hand and discard it. Then finally, we've got this is free. Give a creature +6/+4. You may upgrade a creature in your hand. So both of these cards are really cool. They have upgraded synergy. One of them really buffs your power and toughness. The other buffs your armor. So that's why kind of that fused deck kind of made a little bit more sense now that you think about it, where it's like, hey, there's a lot of stuff that buffed power. There was a lot of stuff that gave armor. I had 2 cards that let you play free stuff. So it was just, I try to embody both cards in that fuse. So yeah, that's the spoilers for today. Thank you for tuning in. I will be streaming. So we have an event actually, just really quickly to plug this. Grey Viking Games has been sponsoring a circuit where there are 4 qualifiers. Each one is a bronze event where you could bring any bronze deck. There's no other limitations besides that. The number of rounds are dependent on how many people show up, and if you place first place in a qualifier, you get 3 Grey Viking points. If you place second, you get 2, and if you place anything else, as long as you finish the event, you get 1. So after these 4 qualifiers, whoever has the top 6 in terms of points, as well as 2 random people who have at least 1 point, will qualify for a invitational where basically all 8 people will be able to, free of charge, and this event is free as well. The free of charge, they'll be able to join a draft. So it's like a snake draft, like fantasy football, where whoever's first will pick a deck, whoever's second will pick another deck from a pool of, I think, 40 decks that they're going to open, and you're going to draft 4 half decks, and you're going to build a sealed deck from that, and then you're going to play a 3-round tournament. Whoever wins is going to get, I think, $50 store credit. Whoever comes in second, I think it's 30. Don't quote me on that, the pricing, but there's store credit for first and second, and you'll be able to find out on the event. And then everybody who gets to that qualifier will actually get to keep the decks that they draft. So the second qualifier event is on Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I've posted about it on the Discord. I will post about it once or twice more for anyone who's interested. So if you're interested, shoot me a message. Definitely feel free to join. I think it's going to be a really fun event. The first one had 13 people. I'm hoping that we can get some more for the second one now that we have a little bit more time. So definitely tune in for that. Make sure to check out CardboardNewt's stream tomorrow, or some point this weekend if they're kicked off of tomorrow, because they're obviously a loser. Haha, got them. But
Fletcher
either way,
just sent me an Invisible Man gif, so I'm guessing that I'm going to post my spoiler and no one's going to see it. So
yeah. So definitely check out CardboardNewts for whenever they are available, and whenever they actually do the spoiler. And then, yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. So I will be streaming that tournament on Saturday. And other than that, have a great night for everybody. And thank you, Sam and Mundungu, for joining.
Yeah, it's fun. I guess.
All right, see you later.
yeah, have fun in your race.